Hello, everyone. My name is Ling Zhang. Thank you for joining us at the Oracle Marketing Summit. We appreciate your time and interest here today. Our topic today is signal versus data. By the end of today's session, I hope you will walk away with some great ideas to unlock growth in your businesses. I am a product marketing manager from Oracle CX Marketing. I'm really excited here today to be dancing with signals and you. Here is our agenda today. We'll talk about what I mean by data, model, and signals, and explore the reasons why some business forecasts and models fail. We'll talk about what to do with those signals. We'll also discuss how to separate signals from noises. And in the end, we'll share what we've learned from the past few years in preparing for an unpredictable future. It's not a new idea that businesses are using data to make decisions. Companies that are beating their competitors, leading their industries, are those who put data at the heart of their businesses. But data also gets lost in all the hype around AI and machine learning. And it's often misunderstood and often sometimes overlooked by business leaders that data is also static and historical. Data is great for telling you what has happened in the past, but data is backward looking. It's like driving with your rear mirror. And we all need to be forward thinking to win. So studying the past is only as good as how much it can tell us about what to do for the future. This is why data scientists and business analysts spend countless time and efforts in creating models, trying to make forecasts and guiding business decisions. Models are great. They are created as our guide for our future. And it's like our GPS while we drive. Thank God, right? Having a GPS is great. But have you ever been frustrated by your GPS? I know I have. Real-time road incidents happen all the time. Sometimes the road is closed because there is a stadium event, or a fallen tree, or you have 56 ducks lined up crossing the street. What can you do? Sometimes bigger changes happen, such as the completion of a new highway structure. You probably know the best way from your house to the airport or your office. We autopilot in those situations, and it's like muscle memory. But the new highway could have changed everything we've known from the past. Just like the examples of a fallen tree or a new highway structure, there are external and internal reasons why that's causing business models and forecasts to fail. Data silos between different organizations and real-time signals sometimes being ignored. And in times like the pandemic, when everything changed overnight, your customer behaviors and their expectations changed, and the macro economy changed. The reality is, we're now living in a world that's changing faster than ever. Even the US White House had to admit that their forecast for unemployment growth rate was historically high during the pandemic. It's easier to hit a still target than a moving one. When there's disruption, drastic changes happen. The past patterns just won't apply anymore. The main reason why forecasting is hard is that we live in a dynamic and fluid environment. The systems are full of constant changes and uncertainties. That is also why weather forecasts are most accurate for only the next couple of days. Even if you are just slightly off in addressing the current state of the system, will end up being very wrong when predicting the future, as mistakes multiply over time. Signals' importance really comes in two folds. Some signals are triggers. They are triggers for an immediate response. For instance, your customer make an immediate purchase or fill out a form on your website right after they see some great content, right? Or some signals, they work in combination, a series of signals leading up to a future event collectively. Either way, you can't possibly make a correct forecast or a sound business decision if you are ignoring all the real-time signals from the present moment. If you think about natural disasters, wars, and terrorism, wrong forecasts can easily cause life or death situations. In business, the cost can't be taken lightly either. I'll give you two examples here. The first is a US beverage company. So they thought sponsoring the National Soccer League wouldn't yield a great ROI because unlike the rest of the world, soccer isn't the most popular sport in the US. But what they did not know was that the penetration rate among their customer base is twice among the general public. What does that mean? For example, if the penetration rate of soccer among the general public is 5%, that penetration rate among their customer base is actually 10%. And going back to what I was saying, because soccer league is not as popular as, let's say, the football league, their ROI could be quite the contrary, quite well. Quite good. They just didn't see that because they didn't know enough about the customers. I'll give you the second example. It's a dairy company in China. So after the pandemic lockdown, what did the company do? They look at the past sales history and then they send about the same amount of produce to different regions of China. What they did not know was one region actually had a much higher percentage of younger people. Why does that matter? Because younger people, they are more used to online orders and mobile orders. Another thing is older people in China, they didn't grow up drinking milk. So in extreme situations like this, milk isn't a diet staple in their everyday life. So as you can imagine, they actually had a pretty different real sales volume than their predictions. In times like this, right, relying on the general database or your old models just wouldn't work. You can't even make sound resource planning without a deep understanding of your customer segmentation or their behavioral changes. If I have done a good job so far, I hope so. And I think we've all agreed on the importance of real-time signals. But that doesn't necessarily mean we know which way to reroute, right? So let's take a look at what to do next. Data or signal without insights or actions, it's all meaningless. Let's call this three-step process: signal, story, and action. We have to keep an open mind and always be listening for signals from all teams and channels. Sometimes we develop such a fixed belief in our previous models that when signals showed up, we chose to ignore them. Can you imagine back to the beginning of 2020, if we believed that the pandemic was going to be over really quickly? We could still be waiting after 2 years, 8 months, and still be counting. And after we collect the signals, we need to investigate. And I like to say to interrogate the signals repeatedly until we determine a story that is telling. What do I mean by telling? What does the story tell me about my customer behaviors? What has changed in their preferences and their needs? And I'll give you a good example here. BYD is an electric vehicle company. So during the pandemic, they quickly transformed their production line into making masks, and they became the world's largest PPE mask manufacturer. That doesn't mean that they've become a mask manufacturing company ever, right? But that's what they did after they found out what their customers need. Certainly not electric vehicles. That's the perfect branding and marketing. And what do we do after we have a story? That is to take actions. If you're a digital savvy person like me who spent a lot of time on the internet, congratulations. We now have an attention span that's shorter than a goldfish. You have 8 seconds to catch your customer's attention while you are interacting with them, especially when it's online. So personalization at a scale in real time is really no longer a nice to have, it's a must to have. If you are a good thinker, like the most famous literature critic, Harold Bloom, you'd be thinking, all right, so how do I know if I'm not just wasting my time over collecting a bunch of noises and drowning myself? 95% of the information, if not more, is noise instead of real signals. This is by no means a trivial task. Instead of telling you the 500,000 things to do, let's begin with the 3 things not to do. Don't read your signals in isolation. Don't be afraid of the F words. And don't forget about your models. Let's talk about these one by one. We see, like, sometimes in enterprise companies, the problem is less about the lack of information, but rather it's the silos between different teams, different organizations, and different systems. You may have teams who are collecting signals on their own, but they all each have their own systems. And unfortunately, sometimes the systems don't talk to each other. And the end result is that more than often, each team has their own very partial and biased understanding of the customers. And the customers are bombarded by inconsistent and confusing messages all the time. It's like the story of the 7 blind mice. Each mouse touched one body part of the elephant and thought it was something else, not an elephant, until they put all the information together and connected all the dots. That's when they realized it was an elephant. If your signals are siloed in different systems, you really can't have an understanding if this is a true signal or a bunch of noises. In 2015, NPR published the article, "So You Think You're Smarter Than a CIA Agent." A group of 3,000 ordinary citizens like you and me, armed with nothing more than an internet connection. They were making better forecasts of global events than the CIA analysts who had access to highly confidential data. And Philip Tetlock wrote a book about this project. If there's only one thing that I learned from this book, I would say it's the power of the wisdom of the crowd. A team with diverse backgrounds can outperform a team of experts. Transfer this idea into the business world. We should empower and assemble our own team of citizen data scientists. Modern technologies have made data analysis accessible to all teams. You don't have to have a degree in statistics or data science to navigate a drag and drop reporting portal or dashboards, right? Turn your frontline service bureau into part of your strategic contributors, your marketing team, your sales team, and service team. Those are your front office teams. They live in the data. They live in signals, day in and day out. Give them access to the unified customer data and let them deliver those signals back to the back office and back to the system and share what they've learned from the front line. Group forecasts reduce your forecast error by 15 to 20%. The key is to reduce your data silos, technology silos, and workflow silos. Nate Silver, who's a famous forecaster, once made an analogy. If you had 100 smartest people in the room, you may end up with a very, very smart conclusion, but only one, where everybody gets the similar conclusion. But if you have 100 people from different backgrounds providing different insights, you end up with a much more accurate forecast result. This is my favorite. Let's talk about those F words for a second. The first is feedback. Leverage technologies to facilitate your cross-team collaboration and communication. Form a complete feedback loop between your front office and your back office. This can help you validate if your new evidence is a signal or noise. And we'll say, not everyone has a big heart for failure, but the truth is, there's no shortcut sometimes. It's part of the process. Trial and error is also another rule of thumb that Nate Silver has shared. The sooner you start collecting data, collecting signals, and experimenting and learning, and then the sooner you become better at it than your competitors. And focus on the desired end behaviors, whether it's engagement rates or consumption rate or purchases. Always measure against those end results. Evaluate the attribution of the signal or combination of signals to the end results. That can help you to tell if this is a signal versus a noise. And let's not forget about model. But don't think about forecasting. Let's take a moment. Think about nowcasting. Models and statistical methods are great ways to process data in batches. In a world where changes happen anytime, this is essential. A unified data platform and data models can help you create connections between seemingly irrelevant evidences. Indexing signals against different population base can also be very insightful too. Signal in one customer segmentation could be noise in another segmentation, and signals at a micro level might seem like noise at a macro level. Timely information is important, especially during the time that's constantly we're faced with with changes. We really need to make timely decisions at the moment. And here, I'd like to share 3 closing thoughts on how to prepare for an unpredictable future. The first is resilience. For a long time, businesses have been solely focused on growth. If there is only one thing we've learned from the pandemic, that is the importance of resilience, first and foremost. And resilience really gives businesses the ability to place strategic bets in times of crisis. And there are three aspects of being resilient: agility, flexibility, and scalability. Do you have the technology that provides you with the efficiency and productivity that you need? Do you have the flexibility in your technology and your workforce? Technology is not something that tell you from A to B to C. You have to follow step by step, and you just contain yourself in the box. Technology should be giving you the flexibility and creativity so that you can be different from your competitors. And scalability. Scalability is important. And by scalability, I'm not just talking about how, in times when your business models change and you scale up, which is great, and then how important it is for your current technology to be scalable, so you don't have to re-architect everything, the system, right? That's very costly to completely change your infrastructure, to retrain your employees on new technologies. But scalability is also about scale down, and how do you pivot? And I'll give you a real life example. We have a customer. Their digital, during the pandemic, their online traffic went to 16%. But now everything is slowly settling back to pre-pandemic situations. Their online traffic went down to 7%. They freaked out. They came to our marketing consulting team and they asked for strategies and solutions, how to promote their online traffic, how to promote the platform that they've already invested so much money on, and how they turned that platform, the technology investment that they did, and turned that into a platform for their partners as well. And customer intelligence. Customer intelligence should always serve as the true North Star. Think about Netflix. Their customer understanding goes beyond on recommending you what the best next shows to watch, right? I of course I thoroughly enjoyed that part, but Netflix took that to another level. They leverage that customer intelligence and decide what to produce, what next original shows to produce, what shows would be popular in different regions. And the third one is combination of human insight and computer models. The combination of the two really outperforms either one easily. And that is why we can predict hurricanes and earthquakes so much more successfully than other things. The future of driving really belongs to self-driving cars, and technologies should free your people from manual efforts to make strategic decisions. With that said, if you have enjoyed this presentation, now it's time for you to give me a signal. Please feel free to share the content and feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn or send me an email at ling.zoe.com. Excuse me, I'm too excited here. ling.zoe.zhang@oracle.com. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for joining today.